Welcome into a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show right here on YouTube, presented by Geaux Chevrolet. Good Thursday morning to you out there. Shout out to Metropolitan Health Group for our coffee that they give us each and every day. Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, real doctors, real solutions over at Metropolitan Health Group. Looking forward to today's show. Shea Dixon will be inside of the undisclosed location. We'll finally talk about some of this recruiting news that LSU football has been flurried with over the past couple of days, like A.J. Johnson's commitment earlier this week, the four-star wideout from Newman, Walker Howard receiving a fifth star from Rivals, and then Chris Hilton dominating the 400 meters in the track state championship with another high jump and 400 title for the Zachary wide receiver commit and signee for LSU football. We'll talk to Shea Dixon coming up here at 8:30 this morning. 8 a.m., Making Money will stop in by. We'll talk a little bit about college basketball and some of the plays that Megan has set up for the weekend, peeking ahead towards March Madness on what her plans could be. And then 7:30 this morning, really looking forward to our conversation as Austin Thomas finally going to stop by here for the first time. He'll be here on the Jordy Culotta Show, and really looking forward to linking up with the LSU football general manager, as Thomas back in his spot. He was at LSU, came here with Ogeron initially, or was here before Ogeron, but stayed on and then bounced around a little bit, and now back in the spot that he is familiar with. And it's really good to have a football guy in that position that understands the job. We'll ask him about the roster, his expectations for this 2021 squad, how healthy that quarterback room is, and what his thoughts are on the recruiting class that they just got, his responsibility. We'll talk to Austin Thomas coming up here at 7:30 this morning. Good morning from the Jordy Culotta Show. Nikki's here. Mike's here. Lloyd's behind the camera. We appreciate everybody, as always, for interacting with us. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're inside of the bunker, make sure you like the post, share the post, comment on the post, as yesterday's interaction for the Richard Lipsy interview was fantastic. We appreciate it.
I'm still buzzing from that.
That was a high. I think we had a question earlier this week on the Ask the Jordy Culotta Show, coolest interview. That one slid right to the top.
Oh, yeah, that's number one. That's number one.
That was as good as it got yesterday, boys, as far as just sitting down, storytelling, entertainment, not pressed for time, very comfortable. Didn't matter the messaging. I mean, everything from his days talking about Lipsy, of taking over his dad's business, to the final days of Joe Oliva. Everything in between was fascinating. I mean, it was stellar entertainment. If you missed it, you can always catch it on our podcast that is brought to you by RMB Builders, and wherever you get your podcasts, you can check them out.
The chair strikes again.
It does. Yes. You could see it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
He was kind of settled in. Right.
Sloshing
we started talking about higher education. He sat up a little bit. You know what I mean? It's the chair, man, for sure. All right, so we got a lot to get to coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Let's start last night. LSU baseball offensively, Tigers putting it together, back-to-back games here, where they knocked 14 hits, second consecutive games. LSU had 14 hits on Monday night versus Louisiana Tech. They erupted again last night, improved to 3-1 on the season with an 11-2 victory over Louisiana Lafayette down at Teague Moore Field. And anytime LSU baseball can beat the Cajuns like that, you know the Baton Rouge faithful are always going to love that. And for some of you tucked into the Acadiana area cheering for the purple and gold, that's got to be a sweet Thursday morning for you after LSU travels down to Lafayette last night and smashes the Cajuns. A couple of pitchers last night. Garrett Edwards, the big 6'8" frame last night, he was pitching well. And then Will Helmers, who started the season at third base, he's back on the mound. Both of those guys were the freshmen on the mound last night. Sophomore second baseman Cade Doty led the offensive effort. We had 3 hits, 2 RBIs. Junior left fielder Gavin Dugas had 3 hits. He scored 2 runs. Freshman pinch hitter Brody Drost from Barb High School highlighted a 5-run outburst in the 9th inning with a 2-run blast over the right field wall. His first collegiate home run came last night in Lafayette. So LSU baseball improves to 3-1 on the season. They'll be back at home at Skip Bertman Field, Alec Box Stadium. They will be playing on Friday night, where they will host Youngstown State. will be in town. Very positive to see LSU offensively put together these back-to-back performances. I think, especially at this time of the year, you always kind of expect the bats to get going when the weather warms up, when it gets a little bit earlier into spring, later down the line, and winter, and back-to-back. I mean, you get 28 hits in the last 2 games. That's a really good offensive performance. Doesn't matter who you're playing, where you play. Where this program has been and the criticism that they faced at the plate, to see that type of production in back-to-back games is solid.
Promising.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
I love every night there's a new name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still early.
Yeah.
So I mean,
right.
we're not very familiar with the roster, but it seems like every night Cruz is going to be there. Which by the way, he's the SEC Freshman of the Week for his start to
like
the college
said,
baseball season.
Get used to it.
Yeah, it'd be first. I mean, Cam Thomas. I mean, remember early on in this season, Cam was picking up SEC Freshman of the Week. It felt like almost every other week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cruz is probably going to be on that same type of trajectory of just being recognized for his talent. But every night, every day, it seems like it's a new name. Trey Morgan early in the season, who we heard about Morgan, and he's hitting the ball hard. Defensively, he's playing well. We've seen Gavin Dugas over the weekend, hit the grand slam again last night. He performed. And then Brody Drost last night is a name that we heard about in recruiting. He's kind of this baseball player, this utility guy that you can almost put anywhere. He played everything for Barb. And
Paul Maneri said it's going to be tough to keep him out the lineup.
Yeah.
After the game.
He's got a couple of those guys.
That's what I was about to say. And they're all freshmen.
Right. That freshman class is really, I mean, just early on here, proving that they were absolutely worth all of the buildup and hype. As we said, Dylan Cruz, he hit 7 for 12, 583 over the weekend with 2 home runs, 3 ribbies, and 2 runs scored. He also walked 4 times, recorded an on-base percentage of .688 in his opening 3 games of his college career. So Cruz named the Freshman of the Week for SEC baseball and LSU baseball. So we will talk a little bit more about LSU baseball as the Tigers will face off against Youngstown State coming up on Friday night to start a weekend set. Some news for LSU football coming out on Wednesday is that the spring practices were announced. We'll talk to Austin Thomas, their general manager, coming up here in a couple of minutes at 7:30. And we'll ask him what the goals and what his thoughts are of getting out of spring drills, but they're just around the corner. LSU is going to get going on March 16th. That will be the first of what will be 15 practices over a 5-week span. They'll close out spring with the National L Club spring game on Saturday, April 17th. Kickoff time and further details about the spring game will be released in coming weeks. We'll see what they do as far as the crowds go. But LSU football getting back to work and going to get these 15 practices in the spring starting on March 16th. So looking forward to talking to Austin Thomas about that. I wonder what will happen to the quarterback position during that shakeup. And if you'll start to see some movement there, because I think that there will definitely be movement in that quarterback room, whether it's going to be TJ Finley, whether it's going to be Max Johnson, or whether it even may be Miles Brennan. Let me say for the record, I was surprised to see Miles Brennan return for this season. I thought that, above all, I thought that Brennan, while he hasn't played extended time in college football, he's got enough film out there for NFL general managers, decision makers at the next level to be able to evaluate whether or not he can play at that level. And I think he can, just because of his arm strength, the live arm that he has. I thought last season before the injury, he had some highs, he had some lows, but overall he was consistent in the sense that he showed he could throw the football down the field. He was strong enough to make all the throws that you were really looking for. And from an NFL standpoint, that probably checked enough boxes to, we'll evaluate, we'll see if you can play. And I think that's the only opportunity that Brennan can ask for. He'll never play himself, in my opinion. I don't think that Brennan can play himself into a high first-round pick, maybe even a second-round pick.
You think that's because of his frame? You think that just because of the way he's built?
No, I think that he's got a frame that you could build on. I think he's got a frame. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, Moffitt's put so much weight on him while he's been here, and I think that you can continue to do that. I think he's just hit his ceiling
Really?
for college football. I mean, I know that he hasn't played a lot, but I just think that he's shown everything that he can do. And when I see Miles Brennan and I see Max Johnson standing side by side, I would say that Max Johnson gives you the best chance to win the game. And I just think because he can do more. But
Mobility.
I think that, I think that his athleticism, his ability to make plays with his feet, and I think that he is going to obviously get stronger between his freshman and sophomore season. And his frame is already put together in the sense of, wow, you put a couple of more pounds of muscle on him, and no telling what his
He looks more
throw
like
is
an
gonna look
NFL
like.
guy.
Definitely does.
That's what, when I picture Miles Brennan in an NFL uniform, he still
Definitely
seems
does.
slight. What do you think?
Johnson's my guy. Like, that's the one I'm betting on. I'm putting my money on
Right.
Johnson. I think he's LSU's quarterback of the future, or until Walker Howard gets here.
If Miles Brennan starts, what kind of stat line do you think he puts up? When he plays all year?
Well, I think that the quarterback is going to see.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, because you got so many playmakers around you, and I'm anxious to see what this Pete Mangus offense looks like. I mean, how much familiarity is it to the Joe Brady offense? That would obviously benefit Miles Brennan because he was the only one that was in the room during that time for a consistent long stretch where he saw how it was taught, he saw how Burrow digested it, and he saw how Burrow executed it. But I just still think that Max Johnson gives you the best chance to win the game. I think that whoever plays quarterback for LSU is going to put up numbers next year. I think that the offense is going to be scripted to do that. I think that they're going to be a quick throwing, put these playmakers in space, let them pick up chunks of yardage, which is going to be advantage quarterback as long as you can protect them. Right. But with all those offensive linemen coming back last season, that's the biggest high of the offseason.
Yeah, definitely.
I just think the two skill sets are almost so different that the game plan would be different for Max Johnson and Miles Brennan.
It would be. You can't run zone read.
Right.
With Miles Brennan. I mean, that would be the obvious.
So you think they do a package deal?
No.
Okay.
I hope not.
That's what I was getting at. I don't think they do it either. Yeah.
I hope not. I think that Dan Mullen cost himself football games by taking Trask out and putting in Emory Jones. I mean, I thought that was a terrible mismanagement of the quarterback. When you've got production like that, why would you ever pull the plug?
Disrupt the flow
of
it.
Right. I mean, that's what every coach at every level is looking for from that position. Do not disrupt the flow of the game when you're getting consistent play from that position.
How many times was Trask looking over the sideline like, are you serious, dude, right now?
I mean, in Baton Rouge 2 years ago, it was like, are you taking me out of this game?
In the red zone?
I'm chopping the national champs up.
Yeah.
So I look forward to talking to Austin about the quarterback room, and obviously I won't ask him who he thinks is going to play there, but I just think that they got really good competition. I think that there's no way you get to the opening playing date versus UCLA with all three of them on the roster.
Really?
No, because all three of them can play. And I think that's the nature of the quarterback position this day. Like I think that you recruit, want numbers at that position, but you recruit the numbers in anticipation that they're not all going to be there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that you have to have competition and let it shake itself out. And then if somebody believes that they can really play, then, college football has set itself up with the transfer portal that it's advantage player now where you can go out there and you can find a spot to play. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to recruit against the portal. You have to coach against the portal. You have to coach to the portal. I mean, it's
all about the portal.
I mean, LSU has done a tremendous job of utilizing the transfer
We're kind
portal.
of on the forefront of that.
For sure. I mean, Cole Tracy, Joe Burrow are great examples, but they've got, Newman, the kid from Stanford, that came over in Ogeron's first year. No, the defensive back.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, the center from Harvard. Why am I forgetting?
Liam Shanahan?
Yeah, Liam Shanahan is another one. So, you absolutely have to plan for what happens in the transfer portal in today's college football. But I definitely don't think that they're all three on the roster come opening day. If I had to put my, if I bet on one guy, if I was putting my money on one, it would be Max Johnson. I mean, I think that Johnson is the guy that gives you the best chance to win, and I think that Ogeron has spelled out, time and time again, that's who he's going to go with at every position. The guy that gives them the best chance to win. Whoever's the best at that position and gives LSU the best chance to win football games is the guy he's going to go with. And I think I think at this point it is Max Johnson, and I also believe that Miles Brennan's going to make an NFL roster.
It's not a bad thing to have.
You know what I mean? That's why I was surprised that he is back.
How
what do you have to prove? Like, what do you have? And if it's for him personally to play a consistent 1 year of college football and be LSU's football and be LSU's quarterback, like it seems like he has long dreamed to be. Well, then who the hell am I to tell him not to do that?
I mean,
then go do that.
He's stuck around for a reason.
Absolutely. Come in, compete, get it back, and see if you can't get that position and hold it throughout the year. Felt terrible for him last year and losing that spot the way he did. I mean, he was playing tough. He was trying to, help LSU win a tough game. He took a tough shot, and he missed the rest of the year. It was a freak injury.
Stayed and played with it, too.
Yeah. I mean,
whole game. Yeah.
Proved a lot.
Crazy.
Proved a lot.
How long do you think his leash is if he's a starter, Brennan?
I don't know. That's,
He doesn't seem like the guy that wants to look over his shoulder.
No. I mean, nobody does at that position, but we've not seen a management of the quarterback.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know how they would do that if that position was truly struggling in what, I mean, you saw it with Finley and Fred, but I mean, like, to the Burrow and to those days, you never really had to see him manage that position.
No.
With all these guys.
I think Burrow was holding the leash in that regard.
And them being so young, he's going to have to, he's going to have to make some tough decisions. Yeah. He's going to have to make some tough decisions around the quarterback position that could play residual effect on their mental stability. So it'll be interesting how you manage that. Brandon Hollingsworth helping me out with a couple of names. Terrace Alexander was a defensive back. They also picked up Jabril Cox, Thaddeus Moss. I mean, they have been really, really active in the transfer portal. So we'll see, and we'll talk to Austin Thomas coming up here at 7:30 this morning. Daily, we're brought to you by Geaux Chevrolet, online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. Remember, Geaux Chevrolet is located in LaPlace, Louisiana, conveniently. If you're heading to New Orleans or coming from New Orleans, you can stop off and see Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the entire crew down there. They got great social media. You can find them on Facebook as they keep up and take all the pictures of people coming over and picking up their new cars, their new Suburbans. Michael Divinity's down there selling cars. Get in touch with Geaux Chevrolet online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. We'll talk to Austin Thomas coming up here in a couple of minutes. Anybody see this story about Les Miles yesterday that came out? This was dominating the news as the USA Today and the Title IX, the university investigation that has been going on, has brought down a Hush Blackwell review of LSU's policies related to sexual misconduct. The law firm's investigation was prompted by a bombshell USA Today report which alleged that the university's athletic department had mishandled such cases for years. And this is a quote yesterday, and the Advocate got this first as Brooks Cabina broke it yesterday and got the news. As part of the Hush Blackwell review, our internal investigations, we have heard about a settlement, but LSU is not a party to it. We have not seen it, LSU Vice President of Strategic Communications Jim Severini told the Advocate when questions about allegations arose about Les Miles on Wednesday. Miles reportedly paid a settlement to a student to cover up sexual harassment, or what the student in turn accused Miles of, quote unquote, hitting on her. The settlement was reportedly uncovered during that Hush Blackwell review. Miles, who is married and still is still is, denied the allegations that he harassed the student intern, but would not directly address the question related to the settlement. Miles's attorney, Peter Ginsburg, told the Advocate Wednesday that a description of the settlement with the student was discernibly incomplete and inaccurate, and its publication would recklessly cast Mr. Miles in a false light. It also reported that Miles had intervened in Baton Rouge District Court case to prevent LSU from releasing details of Hush Blackwell's investigation into him as a part of a wider probe. Miles is currently the football coach at the University of Kansas. This comes from a snippet of the Advocate's report yesterday about Les Miles. And I'm surprised that this stuff took this long to come out. To be quite honest.
Yeah, a lot of action for a lot of things to cover up for something that you don't feel like you had to cover up.
To be quite honest, and I still find it surprising. I'll never forget this. During the last couple of weeks of Les Miles's time in Baton Rouge, there were all types of hearsay and rumors about what was going on with Miles. No matter if you were close to the LSU program, covering the LSU program, or if you were just in and around Baton Rouge at the time, people were hearing things about Les Miles, about what was going on with him on a personal side. And I still find it shocking and still surprising when you run into people that still try to sell Les Miles to the public as a family man. Really. I mean, that to me is a joke, because if you were in this town, if you were in Baton Rouge, or you were around LSU football, or you were even around the university, the rumors and the speculation was boiling over about Miles because of how reckless he was at this part of his life. Whether it was through direct messages, whether it was through text messages, whether it was through emails, whether it was through just blatant calls or out in public conversing with females. This was a reputation that Les Miles had, and it was shocking to me to still find people in and around Baton Rouge that believed him to be this family guy that he and LSU tried to sell to the public. When I was reading this yesterday, I can't believe that it took this long for this stuff to come out. Really. For somebody that covered the program, for somebody that had been around Les Miles, for somebody had just been in a press conference and seen him go back and forth with females. It just being in and around his recruiting office and seeing the way that he interacts there. It always seemed like it was greasy. It always seemed like it was an HR violation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always seemed
Madmanish.
like an old man, cheesy, just, dirty.
And it was obvious.
And it was super obvious. It was always obvious.
That's
I mean,
that's the old man game.
we worked directly with when I was at another when I was with another organization. I worked directly with an LSU student who, prior to her getting to a job, had worked for LSU football in the recruiting office. And her and I were working in and out of the same room. We were doing some type of recording, going back and forth, and she had her Facebook open, and she was young. She was a college student at the time, and I was still young in my career. And she, out of nowhere, we're sitting in the recording studio, and she's like, "Oh my God." And we're like, "What?" She's like, "Les Miles just DM'd me." And we're like, "What?" And she reads this DM from the head football coach's Facebook account. He sends a DM from Les Miles, LSU head football coach account, to this young kid of like, "Hey, how are you? Just got off the plane, about to do some recruiting, be back this afternoon. Let me know if you want to get like, holy cow, how blatant, how just like disrespectful of the whole process, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just
People have gone their whole lives trying to do a workaround.
Let's just say she's got a friend who is, like, she's talking to, she's dating, and she shows him this, and he gets pissed off and says, let me screenshot that. This was like 2008. Social media wasn't what it was today, but you still could have been like, "Hey man, he's sliding my DMs."
DMs,
you know what I mean?
there,
Like,
yeah.
it was so blatant. It was so arrogant. You know what I mean? It was so like, I'm not going to it was so Bobby Petrino.
Above the law.
It was so get on the back of my Harley Davidson and let's run down Main Street. Nobody will pay attention to us. You know what I mean? So to see that stuff coming out about Miles, my first reaction was, geez, that took a long time. I mean, like, is it 2021? He got the job at 05. You know, I mean, there was speculation and stories about him at Oklahoma State. And the power and money that Joe Oliva afforded him in Baton Rouge came with a lot of entitlement from the hat. You know what I mean? A lot of entitlement. So to see this stuff coming out, I can't believe it took this long, really and truly. I am not surprised. I am not shocked, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more. Daily, we're brought to you by Edward Jones. Remember, Edward Jones is online. Get in touch with our friend Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com is where you can find him. We tell you every day he's in charge of our 401k. He's helping us out with our finances. He's the best. He promised it would be simple and it's easy. We rolled the 401k over to him. He's helping us out. But if you're working at the plants, if you're working at if you're working at Dow, Exxon, BASF, wherever you may be, stop in and get the latest on how Daniel Newman can get you up to speed on how you handle your finances, your Social Security, your benefits, your 401k. He knows that stuff inside and out. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. Get in touch with him today. Send him an email and tell him you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll talk LSU football with Austin Thomas next, right here on the Jordy Culotta Show on YouTube, presented every day by Geaux Chevrolet. Every time we talk to LSU head basketball coach Will Wade here on the Jordy Culotta Show, it's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Some exciting new things coming up at Phil's here during the Lenten season, including featuring new seafood specials every Friday, in addition to the seafood-filled menu over there. And they're offering up brunch right now on Saturday and Sundays, which will have bottomless mimosas. Don't forget Monday night 50-cent oysters and $2 draft beers, all over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Check them out. They're online at philsoysterbar.com, but they're located in the South Downs Shopping Center, a staple here in Baton Rouge for a long time. Go tell Anthony Piazza and the crew hello. Phil's Oyster Bar. Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com. Culotta Show. 2 weeks ago, it sounds like Shaz has LSU high on the list with Mickey Joseph and the crew as LSU football. We told you last segment that the Tigers are getting set for spring football just right around the corner. March 16th, getting going in the National L Club spring game. Will cap off the 15 practices on April 17th in Tiger Stadium. A guy who will be back here for spring football and back helping out with the day-to-day ops, help running the day-to-day ops as the general manager, and he's back home. It's good to have him back home. A good friend, Austin Thomas, is back with us and joining us for the first time. It's good to have you on here to the Jordy Culotta Show. Austin, welcome home and good morning, man.
Hey, good morning, Jordy. So glad to hear your voice and be part of the show. Really proud of what you're doing. So thankful to be part of this morning.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for being here. Tell me how you got back here. It's been a hell of a ride since we last saw you in Baton Rouge. You've been a couple of stops and held the same responsibility, and now you're back with the same title as when you left. But tell me what it was like to get back to Baton Rouge and working for Coach O.
Oh, my goodness. Let me just start by saying that, my family and I were just so humbled to have the opportunity to come back to a place that we always, thought so fondly of. Our boys, 2 little boys were born here. We have a 3rd little boy on the way. So to have them all be born here at the same place is exciting for us. And we're just overwhelmed by the support of the people that have reached out and really welcomed us with open arms. So just an amazing opportunity to continue to serve LSU and the state of Louisiana and its great people, and on top of that, our student athletes. So we're greatly looking forward to it. But as you said, it's It's been a ride. It's been, and I think a good one at that. Just to be able to go different places and see different things, but always, have an affinity for a place like LSU, and then to be able to bring some of the things that I've learned and some of the, meet some of the people that I've met along the way and kind of implement some of their thoughts and way they do things into my process is important. So I think it's been a ride, but one that I wouldn't change for anything because I think it's made me stronger as a person. And so really, really blessed to be home and happy for that. And then as you mentioned, working for Coach O, just an amazing person. He's been such a great influence in my life. I'm thankful for him, the trust, the humility that he has. In order to bring me home and have me serve as the GM is rare. As you know, it's a new position in college football, and he gives me a lot of freedom to do the things that are necessary to help run this program. And so I'm thankful for him, and I'm blessed to have the relationship that I have with him. And so just really, really excited to be back here with him to help him bring more championships to LSU in this state.
Yeah, you guys kind of created the role back in 2016, general manager in college football. When he was named interim head coach at LSU, he put you into a position that had never existed in the game. What's it like working for Orgeron? Because you know him, he's called you a son. What's it like working for him pre-national championship to post-natty?
Oh, it's funny, Jordy. He's the same person, and I think this is my 9th or 10th year to be on a staff with him in some capacity, and both of us being in different capacities as we've kind of gone through this ride. But I think I've seen him grow so much, and I really couldn't be more proud of him. I think that, like you said, he treats me like a son, and I think he genuinely cares for his players in this program. So this is very, very important to him. I think that, pre and post national championship, there are some core beliefs and things that, he holds strongly to that are at the core of who he is and the foundation of this program. But I think he also has really, really grown in his ability to, be a listener and take things and constantly grow and tweak and, adjust the program based on self-evaluation, reflection, new ideas that might come in, both positive and areas to improve, right? So I think that, he is constantly trying to build trust, transparency, and shared commitment with his coaches, staff, and players. And so I've really, really appreciated his approach in taking new things and implementing them in each team, because they're all different. And so you have to understand the pulse of every team. But the program itself, I think, he knows what works. He's strongly has strong convictions in what he believes work in his core, and we just kind of build it around that. But the same guy, I'm proud of the success he's had.
Austin Thomas, LSU football general manager, joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. You can find him on Twitter at LSU football GM. When people describe your skill set, they always start off with organized and focused, and I think that's what you bring to the program with LSU. But it seems like your head focus, or one of your main responsibilities, will be the recruiting board, the organizational charts in the offseason and recruiting towards future rosters. What do you think of the philosophy that LSU recruits under when you got here, and what is the process that you guys attack the state and beyond for future classes?
Yeah, I think, it's Coach O's vision. I've been very well versed and schooled in his process. And so just taking that again, and speaking of some of the relationships that I've built across, not only college, but the NFL, and kind of implementing those things and meeting new people and taking some of the things that I've liked in the places I've been and bringing them back. I think that's been very, very important to what we're doing as we constantly, learn and grow. I think it's really, really important to be a learner and not a knower, right? And so to always be open to new ideas and in areas to improve. As you said, we're off to a great start. We closed 21 really, really strong. really proud of the way, and I was not here for most of it, just the way that the staff built the recruiting class. I think that they addressed needs. I think they identified some needs. And, moving forward, what we have to do is now take that and turn that into what I call a 3-year vision, right? And make sure that we have a moving, living, breathing document or process per se that we're able to, manage our roster and identify our needs and recruit the best of the best, not only in the state of Louisiana, which is where we will start, but in surrounding areas in the country if we need to. And so off to a great start in 2022. I think this is the deepest class probably. I was telling a coach the other day, this is kind of crazy and don't mean to go off on a tangent, but this is now my 10th class, I think, to see in the state of Louisiana since I got here. And this is as deep a class as I have ever seen in my time here. So while I'm not necessarily day-to-day in the personnel or recruiting anymore, I still really, really enjoy it and kind of have an overarching 10,000-foot view of it. And it's an incredible year in the state of Louisiana. So we're really, really excited about the players and the opportunity that we have to build this team from the state outward moving forward. So it's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I know you can't speak specifically on names of 2022, but the difference feels like you just got it all. You got a quarterback, you got offensive linemen,
right.
You got wide receivers, you got defensive back. You just got every position. It seems like you guys can almost sign the 25 right here in the state. O and LSU have had so much success in the transfer portal. And I know that you made a big splash or helped make a big splash with Mike Jones out of Clemson. Who? Mike Jones, the linebacker who came over from Clemson to help out. But can you talk about what your perception has been of LSU and the way that they've recruited the portal to now being back in the program and how you guys take advantage of that?
Absolutely. I think that there's definitely strategy to it, Jordy. And, I think that the transfer portal has become an area where players are empowered. And I may be in the minority when I say this, but to a certain extent, I am an advocate of the portal. And I think that there are just so many things that, happen in the course of a college career, whether it's, family, injury, playing time, whatever it may be. I think to some extent, it is good for players to be able to control their future. And so, LSU has done an amazing job of identifying great players and, going out and identifying what their immediate needs are and then going to get these guys to fill them. And so I've been really, really impressed with Coach O and the process here as to how to use the portal. I think it's really important for, players that enter the portal to also understand that, you can't run from problems. You can't hide by jumping in the portal. Football is a really small fraternity, and so most people know what's going on when a guy goes into the portal. And I think that, more times than not, most of these players don't find homes, and it becomes a really, really sad thing to see. So, while I am an advocate of the portal, I do think it's very, very important for these student athletes to make decisions that are very, very sound, because it can be a process that leads you down, a road that you don't have a home. And that's a sad place to be, because at the end of the day, we're still trying to educate and improve the quality of lives of these young men. And so that's vitally important to me. But I think, honestly, Jordy, I think that you have to approach it one of two ways. You can either sit here and complain about it and talk about how bad the portal is and this, that, and other, and it gets the best of you, or you figure out ways to adapt and use it to better your roster and better your program. And from there, you have a positive attitude about it. And so I think that's where we are. And I think that's the way that LSU has used it in the past, and will use it moving forward, is to, identify maybe one or two guys strategically that can come in and help us win. And that's where we are.
Not only are you familiar with the leadership of Ed Ogeron with working with him, you come back with experience in working with Scott Woodward, the athletics director. You were with him at Texas A&M when you were on Jimbo Fisher's staff. You also work with Stephanie in the athletic department. Can you talk about the leadership now at LSU and working under Woodward now in the direction of LSU's football program?
You know what? It's as I've mentioned, just so blessed to have gone some other places and come in contact with some great people. And, And really, as you said, I was blessed to, talking about administration here at LSU, whether it's Scott, Verge, or Stephanie, having the opportunity to work with all three before I returned and came back. And I just think so highly of all of them, just a great group of administrators, and they're all very, very high-level human beings and high-level thinkers and ADs, and I have just so much respect, for them. I think, as you mentioned, I had an opportunity to meet Scott at Texas A&M, and we've developed a really, really strong relationship. And so, I think so highly of him and feel so blessed to know him as a leader and a man. And I'm thankful for the growth that he has seen in me and the growth opportunity that he's given me. Even when we weren't at the same university, I would call and, use him as a mentor and bounce ideas and opportunities off of him. And I just, for someone like him to take an interest in me it's amazing. And so I feel the same way about Verge, right? Verge has been an open book for me, and he's been so good to me and my family. And I can't thank him enough. He's so well connected and so respected in the state. He has great thoughts and ideas. And so I'm thankful for his willingness to really be involved in my growth. And then Stephanie, the same way. She's a tremendous leader. She's been, we had a relationship at Texas A&M. She gave me a lot of opportunity when we were there, and transitioning back here has been the same. She helps guide me on a daily basis. She believes in me and us, and I'm thankful for that relationship too. So all three of them are wonderful people. I think it's a great group of administrators. And again, while I work, directly for Coach O, it's great to see the alignment in administration and those people able to help and support us in the ways that we need.
AT, your roster looks pretty legit going into spring. You guys got to feel pretty good about where you are with depth, with the guys that you had coming back, the guys that you recruited, and most notably your quarterback room, right? I can't remember LSU having as healthy of a quarterback room as you guys have going into spring practice.
Absolutely. You said it all right there. This roster, wow, just very, very talented. Really, really excited going into our fourth quarter program and our spring football. That we just have a great mix of experience and talent. And I think those are the two things that, generally speaking, when you look around this conference, that lead to success. And so now, as a staff and coaches and support, it's on us to kind of take these guys, get them dialed in on the details, and be great teachers and invest in our players, and develop a culture of accountability for one another and a shared commitment through adversity. And I think that we've got some great leadership on this team. These guys have worked hard. The details that they're putting into it, the work that they're putting into it, I've been thoroughly impressed. And I think that you have a group of guys on this team that, as the best teams, they kind of develop their own culture of accountability. And we've got guys doing that right now. So I'm really, really excited about spring ball and where we can go, because I think we've got a great blend of experience and youth, and it's going to be fun to watch, man. It's as you mentioned, the quarterback room. I failed to mention that. I'm sorry. It is a great group of kids and competitors, and I have not in my time here seen as healthy a room as we have right now. And all of those guys are tremendous young men. They all work hard. They're all very smart. They process well, and that's been a really, really good job of LSU. To identify, those guys and go out and add them to the roster, because they all push one another, and competition, is the driver in all this. So we're excited about where that will go.
How about the facilities upgrade since you last left?
Yeah, man, it was awesome. We designed it, and I was a big part of that when we were here in the past, and left here and never got to see the building, but it's phenomenal, man. Just the opportunity that it provides and resources that it provides to not only our staff, but really to serve the players, right? And everything they need is a one-stop shop to get the best of the best. And that was our goal in the beginning. And I remember, in 2017, thinking back to that and just saying, hey, the best of the best, that's LSU, that's the LSU standard. And we want to give our players the best support that we can in all areas. So this facility has really become a one-stop shop for that, and these guys have taken advantage of it. That's the other piece. You know, you have to have guys that want to be here and want to be around, and I think that our players have really bought into that. And as we've moved to 2021, you know, hitting the reset button after 2020 to really, really invest in what we're doing, and these guys have bought into that, are using all the resources really, really well. So awesome facility, excited to finally see it in person, and just can't thank everyone enough for their hard work on it.
It is great to catch up with my friend Austin Thomas, the LSU football general manager, who's back in Baton Rouge. I know you're very busy. Last one, we'll get you out of here. You are one of many new faces in that building now, working together under Ed Ogeron. What's it like having guys like Durante Jones and Jake Peets and DJ Mangus, some new faces pulling the rope in the same direction now?
It's been fun. I think these guys are young. They're energetic. I think the staff energy and the really the synergy around the whole program, you know, from our players to our strength staff to nutrition to training to our coaches to support staff, everybody has a lot of energy and everybody is pulling the rope the same direction right now. And I think it's just really, really important to see that and feel that, and our players feel that. And so that kind of translates over to them. And so it's been awesome to listen to these new coaches, to see the ideas that some of them have brought from places that they've been. And I think all of them are tremendous human beings and lead with great humility. And that to me is important, because I think, you know, the better the person, the better the employee, or the better the player. And so I think when we start focusing on improving ourselves as individuals, you know, the results will come. And so that's been fun to watch from the staff, man. They have great relationships across the board, and really, really excited to see the direction that we go.
It is great to catch up with you, my friend. Welcome home, and thank you for the time this morning. It is very grateful for it.
Hey, Jordy, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Really, as I said before, really, really proud of you, and looking forward to this great relationship and continuing to build on it with you.
Go get them, man. Go Tigers. Thank you.
Go Tigers.
Austin Thomas checking in from LSU football this morning as he is back, the general manager, calling the shots over there with Ed Ogeron and the crew. We'll be back to close out hour number one. We'll set up Makin Money. Will stop by here at 8 o'clock. Hey, you know it's no secret what we got going over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. We're trying to disrupt how media and advertising moves forward. My friend of over 35 years, Barrett Blondo, is doing the same thing for real estate with his new company, Falaya. I met with him in his own personal undisclosed location, and I got to see firsthand what Falaya has been doing and what he's been working on. It blew my mind, man. They are putting all the tools once reserved for professionals right in the hands of the homeowner. It's basically for sale by owner on steroids. For more information, give my guy Barrett Blondo a call today at 225-939-6153 or visit him at Falaya. That's FALAYA.com for more info. Barrett Blondo over at Falaya.com. Changing the game in real estate. Management, but it's the same old familiar names that you know here from the area. Lee Carney and Nick Richard are up and running in LaPlace, Louisiana, and they want you to stop in today. But if you can't, they'll make it easy for you. They'll come to you. Log online to GeauxChevrolet.com. That's GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Geaux Chevrolet is conveniently located on Airline Highway in LaPlace, Louisiana. Shop all the inventory, whether it's new or pre-owned, at GeauxChevrolet.com. That's GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, presented daily by Clean. Remember, water, fire, mold. If you feel it this morning when you wake up in the carpet, if you feel water, if you smell fire, if you see smoke damage, or you see mold, get in touch with Bradley Lynch today over at Clean, ADVANTA. Clean.com is where you can get in touch with Bradley. Easy, or if you want to just Google Clean Baton Rouge. He runs a great shop over there in Industrialplex. In fact, Katie and I stopped by last week as we were dropping off a piece of swag to him, and he was loading up the 18-wheeler. He was heading towards Texas, man. He was going to help out as he was heading towards the Dallas area and going to do work. Yo! Advanta Clean, online at advantaclean.com, ADVANTA clean.com. Good stuff from Austin Thomas. 20 minutes there with the LSU football general managers. He was checking in this morning, giving us some insight on his thoughts on the roster. Talked a little bit about the quarterback and what spring drills will look like for LSU football. Katie just walked in after carpool this morning. Morning, Kate. Coming up in the second hour, Making Money will stop by. She'll be here at 8 a.m., 8:30. We're going to talk to Shea Dixon, who will be in the undisclosed location. Shea will be catching us up on some recruiting, as Austin was talking a little bit about how they closed out the 2021 cycle and looking towards the 2022 cycle. And the class of 2022 inside the state of Louisiana, we've talked to a couple of these guys. Shaz Preston was here earlier in our show a couple of weeks back. And we've given you some of the highlights. Emory Jones, Will Campbell was here. We talked to Bo Bordelon, who had committed to the class out of Newman High School. So there is players all over the state for the class of 2022, and Shea will be by at 8:30 this morning. He'll be in studio, and we'll talk all about those guys. In fact, if you have a direct question for Shea that you want to jump inside of the bunker and just hashtag ask Shea or hashtag ask recruiting question, recruiting, something along those lines. That's not a good one, but just hashtag ask Shea. Yeah, right. We can workshop that.
Loved it when it came out.
We will we'll get it over to Shea at 8:30. And we're also answering your questions at 8:15 this morning. So if you want to ask the JC show, we can do that. I see a lot of comments about the Les Miles take earlier in the show. As Miles, it was reported yesterday, an alleged settlement between the former LSU head football coach and a former student who accused Miles of harassment several years ago has surfaced as a result of the Hush Blackwell's investigation into the university's Title IX policies, according to the Advocate that came out yesterday.
Little hush money.
Yeah. And I am very surprised that it took this long to come out about Miles, just because of the reputation and the speculation that just surfaced around this town. I mean, Baton Rouge is the biggest, smallest town on the planet, right?
Everybody knows somebody.
Everybody knows somebody. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Is that how you term it?
Yeah.
There seems to be degrees of everyone in this town. It's they think they're so cosmopolitan, yet it's just nothing but gravel
Still
roads.
Louisiana, baby.
It's nothing but gravel roads and a cow town down here, man. I mean, everybody knows everybody's business, and Miles sure wasn't. He sure wasn't trying to hide it. Now, this wasn't the peak of social media, but it was still, like I said, man. I mean, I had an experience where a coworker of mine received a direct message from Les Miles's head football coach account on Facebook back in like 2008. And she was reading it out loud in front of a room full of people. It was like, I mean, this guy, it must be an open policy. I mean, it must just kind of be open. So it was, it was curious to see this coming. I'll never forget. So, let's see what time it is. Where are we? Okay, got about 3 minutes.
Sound like less.
About 2015, end of Miles. I was dating this girl, and we went out to eat with her parents, and Les Miles came up, and I just start going in on Miles, just talking about how overrated he is, just talking about how big of a fraud he is, how big of just a joke of a coach that he is. And he was, in my opinion. I think Les Miles is the most overrated, worst football coach. I think he's just the worst. And then I would.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah,
I will. I mean, just pitch it to me.
Yeah.
I'll knock it out the park. But I also went on this stuff that there's a lot of speculation, and there's a couple of stories out there that are pretty confirmed on. I mean, dude's a hound. I mean, you know what I mean? And her mother would not hear it. Like, wouldn't hear it. Like, he's a family man. There's no way he'd do this. I was like, wow, the wool he's got pulled over y'all's eyes is incredible.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, just like it is. It's amazing that so many people were bought into this family man philosophy that he had branded and tried to sell to the public, when behind the scenes, I mean, he's shooting off DMs and text messages into student workers and getting all types of people in trouble and boiling, like hot water. I mean, there were people that had to play cover up, that had to make sure that this stuff was taken care of for him behind the scenes. And it just finally got to a point where it was like, I mean, this ain't worth it, is it? Like, cut this guy loose, man.
Do you think more people come forward?
I don't know that. I mean, it depends on if he pays.
Right.
You know what I mean? It depends on what the money looks like, I'd imagine. I mean, if he's handing out hush money still, yeah, probably. I mean, I'd probably you'll probably see more people coming out. But I mean, look inside the huddle. My ex-girlfriend 1,000% got DMs from Les Miles. She was a Mockler girl, worked with the coaches convention. I mean, there are stories all over this town, all over probably Louisiana, all over the South. I mean, like, look, man, Bobby Petrino. You know what I mean? Like, they're all arrogant in the sense of, I can just put her on my Harley Davidson and ride through town and nothing will happen. It's, Bob Loblaw says, why didn't y'all report on that? Because, Bob, he was the head football coach at LSU, and we're media members. And if you say that out loud, you'll get your legs cut out from under you. That would probably be the best thing that happened to you if you were to say that into the public. Megan Making Money next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. As daily, we're brought to you by Falaya. My good friend Barrett Blondo, he's changing the game and what's happening in real estate. If you're not paying attention, you should be. He is everywhere. If you're trying to sell your house, he has got the remedy for you. It is no secret that we're trying to change how media works over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. My friend of over 35 years, Barrett Blondo, is doing the same for real estate with his new company, Falaya. I met with him last week, and I can tell you firsthand that Falaya has been working on some cool stuff. They're putting all the tools once reserved for professionals right into the hands of homeowners. It's basically for sale by owner on steroids. For more information, call Barrett Blondo, 939-6153, or visit online, falaya.com. You can get the app or visit them online, falaya.com. Call Barrett this morning, 939-6153, 225 area code 939-6153. We'll talk to Megan Making Money. If you got any gambling questions, if you want to have some leads going into the end of college basketball season, I think Megan's hot play is Weber State going into the weekend. We will talk to her next here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
Can you be assured that the air and surfaces in your home are clean, sanitized, and safe for you and your entire family? You can now by logging on to valera.com/Jordy Culotta, where you, your home, your office, your family can be protected 24/7 with active pure technology. This NASA-based science has proven 99.9% reduction of airborne SARS-2 and COVID-19 virus in just 3 minutes. Log on now to valera.com/Jordy Culotta.
Have a late night and can't make it for the Jordy Culotta Show at 7 a.m.? No worries. Catch us on demand on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast.
Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at rmb-builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com.
Do you want to sponsor the Jordy Culotta Show? Contact us at katie@jordyculottashow.com. That's katie@jordyculottashow.com.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show as we appreciate Austin Thomas stopping by in the first hour. Shea Dixon going to be by here in a couple of minutes as we discuss some recruiting. LSU football picked up A.J. Johnson, the wide receiver from Newman earlier this week. Walker Howard was able to pick up a fifth star. Chris Hilton dominated the state track and field meet. We'll talk to Shea all about it coming up, including the class of 2022, which looks, as Austin Thomas said, this will be the 10th class that he has seen cycle through the state of Louisiana, and he calls it the best. Also need to talk a little bit about Arkansas basketball, who is rolling right now and is going to host LSU on Saturday. Going to be a tough one for the Tigers as Arkansas and LSU tangled up in second place in the SEC. Some numbers that are going to be on that game. I saw where Arkansas was favored by 4 in that contest heading into Saturday's game versus LSU. We always keep up with our gambling and get our picks from our girl Megan Makin Money down in Acadiana. Obviously, she is a part of the FanDuel Sportsbook. You can follow her on Twitter at Megan Makin Money and catch her here every Thursday morning on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good morning. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I had a rough one yesterday. Put out 2 picks and a little reverse sweep, but I was on a little heater before that. I feel like I say that like the last 2 times I've been on. Like I had like a 4-day run, and then it just crashed and burned. But that's just how gambling works, you know. What do y'all think about that LSU Arkansas game? You think LSU can pull it out?
Scary matchup. 48 hours out for the Tigers. Right now, Arkansas looks like the hottest team in the league. I mean, they pounded Alabama last night in Fayetteville, and LSU is coming off of just a sleepy performance in Athens. It just does not look good, just on paper. 48 hours out, but this LSU team has been very inconsistent. How do you play them? Do you? I wouldn't gamble on LSU basketball if I had all the money in the world, because you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen.
I've gambled on them twice this season, and I'm 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, they are extremely inconsistent, but they can play some very good basketball when they are playing cohesively. And you know they're fighting for that top spot. And yes, Arkansas has looked absolutely phenomenal, but I'm going to have a hard time passing on 4 points with LSU in that spot. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like that they're going to probably be ready to play up. They watched Arkansas, as you said, just pound Alabama. So obviously they're not going to walk in there thinking it's going to be a cakewalk. So I think I'm leaning LSU this weekend. It obviously is a homer pick, but I think that they're going to be a lot more motivated going into this game than they were in Athens. So,
what type of research are you doing on teams like Southeast Missouri State and Weber State? I see you handing those things out as some heaters this morning, about an hour before we get on the air. I feel very timid about LSU. I would feel blind about playing Southeast Missouri State. How do you know anything about this squad?
So look, I'm going and I'm looking at, Kim Palm rankings.
Yes.
I'm looking at, adjusted offense, adjusted defense, field goal percentage. I'm looking at the numbers for these small schools. And a lot of the times bookmakers overlook these little mid-major schools. I'm going to like beat writers. Like it really, these small schools I've made my money on because, people are looking at like today, like Iowa's playing Michigan. Like everybody's eyes are going to be on that game because obviously Michigan is phenomenal and Iowa has been on an absolute roll lately with Luka Garza being like the best player in the country. He also, I don't know if you're familiar with Luka Garza, but he
Yes.
looks like he is literally from like World War II. Like he would have been the perfect, those like old school portraits of like your grandparents, like in like the army uniform.
Little grease and a cigarette.
Yeah, he would have been the perfect like fighter pilot or something. Like he literally looks like he's from the World War II era, and I think he's a time traveler. So just want to throw that out there. But yeah,
No, go ahead.
I'm just doing small little numbers. I'm looking at the numbers for these schools. Like Weber State has just been absolutely rolling people, and they've been phenomenal against the spread. I believe there's something like 13-3 against the spread here recently, and like Southeastern Missouri State, they're 11-13 against the spread. They're playing Eastern Illinois. Eastern Illinois doesn't, they haven't played very impressively, whereas Southeast Missouri, they're catching six. I think they could even outright win this game just by the numbers. So with those small schools, you really just have to, put a little bit more effort into it. Obviously, like I'm having to plug in and like stream all of these small games if I'm really wanting to watch them. But it's hard to get the, a feel for these games whenever you're not watching them. I'm not an analytical person, so I like to feel like, games are living, breathing games like that. For example, like LSU football last year, I was watching every single game. I felt it every single, or 2 years ago now, but every single game. And I absolutely knew that I was 100% comfortable literally putting a car on LSU to win
your mortgage
championship.
Right.
So it's like with these small schools, you're really going to have to take a little bit more time if you want to do the whole gambling thing and really look at the numbers, look and see, because a lot of these lines won't make sense. And it's just because the bookmakers are focusing more on, the Iowas and Michigans or the Ohio State, Michigan State game today, things like that. So that's why I look at those small schools. It's mostly numbers because, as I said, it's hard to get out and stream everything, especially when the kids are watching their cartoons and they're like, "Mom, no!" And I'm like, "Come on, let me put on Southeastern
I'm a
Missouri
degenerate.
State,
I'm watching Southeast Missouri State. Do you start to play futures right now? Do you start to look at future bets? I mean, like Super Bowl odds, college football odds. When do you start to look at those types of plays?
Well, I tend to look at those right after March Madness. I'm whenever college basketball is on, I tend to focus on that just because. I not to brag on myself or anything, but
do it.
Obviously last year we didn't have a March Madness finish. It stopped like mid-tournament, which was like absolutely nuts. But the year before that, I picked Virginia to win it all. They did. And then the year before that, I actually picked the final, which was Michigan Nova, and I picked Nova to win, and that win. So I'm no longer invited to my husband's work March Madness bracket. I've been kicked out. So I did take a future on Illinois to win the whole dance.
Damn.
Obviously, they didn't look that great last game, but
overall they look pretty good this year.
Yes, but I got them plus 1,600. So it's I get these weird feelings in my guts with basketball because basketball isn't my best sport. It's not the one that I've watched. I mean, football is my favorite sport. It's the one I love to watch the most. It's the one that I love to bet on the most. However, with basketball, I get these weird feelings where I just like see these teams getting on rolls, and I can see them like when they are playing their best basketball, and like really, I feel like the key to betting during this time is the cohesiveness of teams, no matter what sport it is, because of this virus, because of this pandemic. Like you're not going to want to bet on. Like for a college football future, for example, you're not going to probably want to take Alabama this year as the favorite because obviously there's no Mac Jones. So why the hell is Alabama favored to win the Natty when there's not necessarily the cohesiveness there? When you could have, say, an Oklahoma who is, I believe, 8-1. That's the Rattler, who has a old quarterback who is cohesive. I just think that cohesiveness, again, is the key to, if you're looking at any futures this year. Like, you got to make sure that it's not a whole brand new team that they've slapped together during a pandemic and they can't practice and they're doing all these tests and they're having to take all this time off if they are the tracing or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I saw a bet the other night. How do you look at these bets? Where I saw somebody bet Baylor just to win the game. I think they were playing, I forget who they were playing a couple of nights ago, but the guy put like $30,000 down to win $2,000, like $3,000.
Oh, yeah, those are just ridiculous to me.
I mean, like, the guy was like arguing with me on social media. It's free money. I'm like, free money? I mean, what if somebody from the other team gets hot and you lose $30K and you're trying to win $2K? You're looking at that as free money from a gambler's point of view. I mean, at what point does the return not make sense?
Those don't make sense to me because all of a sudden you could have two Baylor guys get tangled up and they both break their ankle, and all of a sudden the team's in absolute just hysteria, and the other team goes on a 20-point run. Like, things to me, those type of bets, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I think, and whoever that is, my apologies to you if you're listening, sir or ma'am.
Yeah, no.
But
it was a national guy. I mean, it was like, I guess somebody out there just on Twitter like saying Baylor's down by 1 with 4 minutes left, and they added the bettor had placed this $30,000 bet just for Baylor to win the game, to win like $2,400 that he was arguing was free money. They ended up winning the game and they ended up pulling away. But I mean, with 4 minutes left, you're down 1. I mean, you're sitting there thinking, what the hell was I thinking?
And there's no such thing as free money. I'm sorry. Unless you're betting on Joe Burrow and that national championship team, or Floyd Mayweather against Conor McGregor, there's no such thing as free money. There's so many variables within sports, and again, especially now with the pandemic, you add that in. I mean, these guys are capable of having off days. They're capable of having a bad day, waking up on the wrong side of the bed, the team not playing the way that they are usually playing. So for me personally, even if I hit the lotto, you're never going to see me place, $30,000 to win $2,500. I'd rather keep that and put that in the college fund for my kids.
Smart gambler. That's why we got her here. Megan Making Money every Thursday morning, 8 a.m. And if you're in the Baton Rouge area, you can go hang out with Megan this afternoon. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to be over at the Geaux Pearl, and me and old Jimmy Ott are going to be live talking some basketball later. I know we're going to be talking about a little bit about the Iowa game, and there's a couple other ones that I'm thinking about putting out, but I haven't pulled the trigger on yet. I'm waiting on some numbers to come through. But yeah, we're going to be over there hanging out, doing his game time with Jimmy Ott, at the Jolie Pearl. And if you listen real close, we'll be giving out a pick, each of us, which mine might actually be LSU. So if you follow that pick and it wins, you can go up to the Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and say, I can either get a Coors Light or a Miller Lite on Megan. So that's super cool that they're doing that for us.
Have a safe trip across the basin. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great day.
All right, there she is, Megan Making Money, checking in from Acadiana this morning over at FanDuel Sportsbook. You can keep up with everything that's happening with the plays over with Megan on Twitter. You can hit her at Megan Making Money Daily. We're brought to you by Geaux and Spillers, our dentist here on the Jordy Culotta Show. They got 2 locations, one in Baton Rouge in between Segan and Bluebonnet on Perkins, and then over on Prepara Drive in Gonzales. Stop in and see Dr. Chad Spillers and Dr. Geaux today. They can help you out with pediatric dentistry. They can help you out with anything that you may need. Teeth whitening, if you want to stop in and see them, get over to Geaux and Spillers. JauxandSpillers.com is where you can find them online. They're on social media. Great supporters of our show. Stop in and tell them that you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We will answer your questions next. If you have a question directly for the Jordy Culotta Show, hashtag Ask the JC Show, Ask the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll get them answered next here on YouTube, presented by Geaux Chevrolet. Every time we talk to LSU head basketball coach Will Wade here on the Jordy Culotta Show, it's brought to you by Phil's Oyster Bar. Some exciting new things coming up at Phil's here during the Lenten season, including featuring new seafood specials every Friday, in addition to the seafood-filled menu over there. And they're offering up brunch right now on Saturday and Sundays, which will have bottomless mimosas. Don't forget Monday night 50-cent oysters and $2 draft beers. All over at Phil's Oyster Bar. Check them out. They're online at philsoysterbar.com, but they're located in the South Downs Shopping Center, a staple here in Baton Rouge for a long time. Go tell Anthony Piazza and the crew hello. Phil's Oyster Bar. Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com. Hey, you know it's no secret what we got going over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. We're trying to disrupt how media and advertising moves forward. My friend of over 35 years, Barrett Blondo, is doing the same thing for real estate with his new company, Falaya. I met with him in his own personal undisclosed location, and I got to see firsthand what Falaya has been doing and what he's been working on. It blew my mind, man. They are putting all the tools once reserved for professionals right in the hands of the homeowner. It's basically for sale by owner on steroids. For more information, give my guy Barrett Blondo a call today at 225-939-6153 or visit him at Falaya. That's FALAYA.com for more info. Barrett Blondo over at Falaya.com. Changing the game in real estate. Can you be assured that the air and surfaces in your home are clean, sanitized, and safe for you and your entire family? You can now by logging on to valera.com/Jordy Culotta, where you, your home, your office, your family can be protected 24/7 with active pure technology. This NASA-based science has proven 99.9% reduction of airborne SARS-2 and COVID-19 virus in just 3 minutes. Log on now to valera.com/Jordy Culotta.
Have a late night and can't make it for the Jordy Culotta Show at 7 a.m.? No worries. Catch us on demand on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast.
Hey, if you're in the market for a custom home, get in touch with our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders. They're online at RMB-Builders, and Rhett can do just about anything you need around the house. He can build you a new one. He can repair the one you're in. He can remodel. If you need commercial construction help, he's licensed for commercial as well. He can handle an office renovation, building maintenance. Check out everything. It's online at rmb-builders.com. He's on social media, Instagram and Facebook. You can find him at the handle at RMB Builders LLC. But the website is fantastic. Check him out, rmb-builders.com.
Do you want to sponsor the Jordy Culotta Show? Contact us at katie@jordyculottashow.com. That's katie@jordyculottashow.com.
Welcome back to the Jordy Culotta Show, presented by Geaux Chevrolet. Remember, joining the team over at Angel Oak Home Mortgage, joining Lee Gilly and Matt Lanassa. Those guys are bringing very creative ways to refinancing and mortgaging your house. If you are interested and if you are self-employed and you're wondering how you can maybe mortgage your house, get in touch with us over at Angel Oak Home Mortgage. You can actually just email me at Jordy at the JordyCulottaShow.com, and I'll get it over to the team with Matt Lanassa, Lee Gilly, and the crew, but fired up to be over at Angel Oak Home Mortgage with Lee and Matt. You got your question? Jump inside of the bunker. You can get the hashtag AskTheJC Ask the Jordy Culotta Show. We're going to talk to Shea Dixon here in a couple of minutes, as Shea will be inside of the undisclosed location back here for another visit, as we will have him on the couch talking a little bit about the recruiting on whether it's the class of 22 or how LSU will finish up. What we got?
Yeah, we got some questions. Hashtag Ask the JC Show from West Shin. Jordy, is the chair more comfortable? You look like a sofa guy.
The chair is incredibly more comfortable. I think that there's too many examples to show along the way. I thought Lipsy yesterday really soaked in, and once he kind of settled in, I mean, it was just a free flow of words.
It's like a drug.
It was just like, I mean,
great.
he actually even like sat up straight to talk about the higher education. It feels very therapist. It feels very
Therapeutic.
Yeah, it just feels like you're
I mean,
you're
Lipsy,
in kind of a room.
he was like a conversation away from a cigar and
I
a
mean,
bourbon.
just was holding the glass.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was just
Working
chilling,
the
man.
room, he was looking at everybody when he was talking.
Yep.
We are
Great.
we're still thinking about what to do, whether the blue couch is going to stick, whether we get the matching couch to the chair, or whether we go red plaid.
And we have some purple.
Oh, we do have some
purple
purple.
Yeah, the purple
conversations been
option.
thrown around.
All right.
Bernard Hino.
Just punt.
Hashtag Ask the
BH.
BH.
Hashtag Ask the JC Show. Where do you think LSU will finish in the SEC in baseball?
You know what? I can't give you a true number now, because I want to see the rest of the conference play. I mean, to see LSU in the top 10 preseason, I don't put a lot of stock in preseason baseball polls, college baseball polls, but to see them in the preseason top 10 nationally and then selected 4th in the SEC West, I mean, kind of gives you an idea. I mean,
Yeah.
even in the SEC, I mean, Vanderbilt on the East looks really good. Florida, who's not on the schedule, you know they're going to be there. But, I mean, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, LSU. Hey, I can't wait to see this SEC season start to unfold. I mean, it's just a lot of good baseball. So I don't know where they're going to land. I hope they land towards the top. I mean, they seem like they're talented enough to be contenders. But once you start looking around, I mean, it's like the AL East.
Hoover's going to be a College World Series light.
Another
Yeah,
great trip, Mikey.
definitely.
Yeah.
Another great trip, Mikey.
Definitely.
Hoover, SEC baseball. Downtime, great city. Birmingham's another great city.
They keep trying to take things away, and people keep
Yes.
crawling back.
We were talking about Nashville in the break on the SEC tournament. I think Mike just lost his gig, as he was supposed to be going to the tournament, but COVID rules have now barred the media from one of the great media trips that you can take in covering a sport, going to Nashville to cover the SEC basketball tournament. First off, because Nashville being just such a great town, entertainment purposes, always something to do, good food. Yes. And yeah, that's right. But there's so much downtime. The amount of downtime that you have. I mean, a basketball game, let's call it overtime basketball game, 2 hours and 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Outside of that, you got the rest of the day. That's how you're doing your work. So Mike just got the call that he won't be making the trip to Nashville, which is a bummer. But Birmingham and Hoover is another great trip in the SEC to cover the baseball tournament for sure. SEC Media Days. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
good
right.
one.
That's right.
Whitney Bro wants to know, hashtag Ask the JC Show. What's Austin Thomas's dream job, you think? Is he on the path to AD?
Yes, I know I'm sorry, Whitney, I should have asked him that for you, but I have talked a little bit with Austin about that on and off the record, and it is athletics director. He would love to be a Power 5 AD, or possibly even like a general manager in the NFL. Just somewhere around making big decisions for athletics.
And it seemed like he was on that track for a little while, and I think coming back to LSU will probably put him back in that position.
I think once he left LSU, people were trying to find where to put him in the program. I think some positions he's overly qualified, and then for some positions he doesn't have the experience yet to make those types of calls.
Yeah, we literally created a role for him.
Right, and I think with what LSU is giving him the responsibility to do now, that will absolutely expand his resume.
Kyle Russo, I'm going to combine Kyle Russo and Rusty Legier's questions.
All right.
Kyle Russo says, I love Brennan. I love his love for LSU too, but we need a quarterback that's a little more mobile. And Rusty Legier asks, is there any truth to the noise of Miles transferring to UCLA?
I have not heard that. That would be incredible if
would
Miles
look good
Brennan
at-
is the starting UCLA quarterback come that first Saturday in September when LSU squares off against the Bruins. But I have not heard that rumor. The only thing that I have heard, and we'll ask Shea Dixon about this because Shea has his hand on the pulse of this type of stuff. But the only thing I have ever heard about Miles Brennan and his affinity for LSU is that he is in love with the place. He and his family are obsessed with LSU. They love the university. They've always wanted to be here. They've always wanted to be a part of the athletic program around the football program. And he's always wanted to be the quarterback. And I think that's what pulls him back. I think he wants at least 1 year of calling himself the LSU starting quarterback. He's competed for it in the past. Last year he won the job. Then he lost it to injury. And now he's coming back. And if I had to be willing to bet on why, I would just say that would be it. I don't know that for a fact, and I have not heard that he's transferring anywhere. But if you stacked up the three quarterbacks in the room right now and asked me to pick one to win a football game with, it would be Max Johnson. And, I mean, I explained that earlier. If you missed it, it'll be a part of our podcast, and you can go back and watch the YouTube. But I just think Johnson gives you the best chance to win.
We'll get Shea in here?
Yeah, Shea Dixon is at the undisclosed location. We will bring him in to the conversation. Daily, we're brought to you by Lanois Insurance Agency, Lanoix agency.com. This is a man who knows where the undisclosed location is. No need for the blindfold. Good to talk to him again. Remember, if you need auto insurance, home insurance, business insurance, get in touch with Randy, Brian, and David, who can help you out at 749-5640 is the phone number. Or you can look them up online at Lanoix agency.com. Get in touch with Randy, Brian, and David, as they're always standing by, ready to help you out with all of your insurance, needs. How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
Doing well. Should I put these on?
Yeah, go ahead. Shea Dixon of Go 247. Remember, if you're looking for recruiting news, you can always catch up with Shea, as he's got the best information in the business. They're online at go247.com, and you can hit him on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Big week for recruiting. First off, we talked to Austin Thomas, and it was good to have a conversation with the LSU general manager, as he is back in his position where it feels like he's kind of a natural fit. I explained his skill set as very focused and organized, and I think that's what he brings to the program. And a lot of that built around recruiting. How do you see Thomas fitting in this second go around?
Recruiting, and then I think roster management, right, has been something we've all talked about, that Orgeron's talked about over the past year, being a need in terms of addressing going into this age of the transfer portal and kids opting out and all the different things we saw just this past year. I understand it was a pandemic weird year for football, but so many guys, I mean, they were playing with 50-something guys on the roster against Florida and Ole Miss. They won at the end of the season, but that's not desirable. So I think it's everything from recruiting to roster management to managing the bill. I mean, so much goes on in football, let alone athletics. And the more help you get behind the scenes, the better.
He made a pretty powerful statement to recruiting, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I don't know if you heard him say it real time, but he said this will be the 10th cycle that he's seen in the state of Louisiana.
Heard it. And
he said that this is the best in the class of 2022. I know that you're probably asked, all the time, which one's the best, but does 2022 stand out like that?
Yeah, remember 2011 was big whenever Jarvis Landry and all those, the fam that year. Lyell, Anthony Johnson, Odell. That was a big class. I would say that, okay, so I guess if you put it like in the simplest layman's terms for people to understand how deep it is, I think it was 2 years ago, let's just look at the last few classes, there were no 5 stars and I think 11 4-stars, 11 kids in the top 300, which are 4 stars. And then the next cycle, which was last year, they had 11 kids that finished in the top 300, and right now they have 18. So LSU, I think, normally I did the average. Average is about 11 and a half or 12 in-state offers a cycle. They have 19 right now. So we're a year from signing day. Kids are still going to play their senior year in summer camps and get eval'd and get offered. So It's deep, yes, but I think what makes it, and I've said this, makes it so unique. Now there's 3 of them, but the 5 stars at the top are a quarterback and a left tackle, and that doesn't happen here. I mean, Perilou was the last 5-star quarterback, and Lael Collins, or Cam Robinson would have been the last 5-star tackle. Then Lael before him, Cody Ford wasn't a 5-star. So you think about elite quarterbacks and offensive tackles, left tackles that have come out of the state, and it rarely happens. I named you 3 in 20 years. I mean, dating back to the early 2000s. So to have Will Campbell out of Neville at left tackle, who has been on the show, friend of the program right here.
Absolutely.
100%. 100%.
13 going on 30 right there, son. Country boy.
Yes.
And then you've got Walker, the city boy, Walker Howard, Jamie Howard's son. But those two, and obviously Walker at STM, are the real deal. And now we've seen this rise from Jacoby Matthews, who at Ponchatoula, he's now that TJ's at LSU, he's their quarterback, he's their safety, he's a bit of everything. But he's also 6'2", 210 as, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, junior in high school. He's soared up the rankings. Now he's in the top 50 with those guys. He's a 24/7 composite 5-star with those guys. And it puts a pretty kind of nice grip on the top of the class of, yes, it's deep, but boy, the top 3 guys are no doubt everybody would want them.
How good is Walker Howard? I mean, when I just see him, I just watch the film, it just looks different. The ball coming out of his hand compared to the guys that he's either being recruited against, and sometimes I look at like Max Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier and say, man, I mean, he throws the ball better than those guys.
Yeah, I think that one thing that Walker does well too. Beyond, I mean, remember this was his first year starting playing. Caleb Holstein was the guy at STM. They were winning state titles, so he, you insert him into that lineup, and they once again win a state title, and he played obviously really well. Jack Besh was his go-to guy. I think a lot of people are excited to see what Walker can do when Besh isn't his go-to guy. It's sort of another kind of challenge or thing you want to check off of how good or what his ceiling might be. I love, and you put on the film, you'll see the stats, you'll see the throws. So many he's really good off-platform, and we've seen that, and that's what Russell Wilson was. That's what Mahomes is. That's what Baker and all these other, we're moving towards needing a pocket mobile, however you want to call it, not a scrambler, but someone who can at least move around a bit, and he can do that. He's big time. I mean, this is a kid who right now he's the number 2 pro-style quarterback in the country, and there's only about Quinn Ewers in Texas is kind of the guy out of Southlake, and he's chasing him. Some people thought that his junior film was better than Quinn's. Both of them won state titles and big competition, so it'll be interesting to see. He's the best that Louisiana's had since Perilou, no doubt.
This offensive line class with Campbell and Bordelon committed, Emory Jones is on the board. This is collectively, this group, I can't remember a collection of talent for one unit or specifically this unit, offensive line, in a long time.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. Trey Turner's class maybe had a few guys in it, but it's nice when you sit around and look. In December, they signed 1 offensive lineman. Everybody was screaming, James Craig, come on, let's buckle in here. You're coming off a Joe Moore Award, winning unit, and it was huge that they got all 5 of their starters back, right? I mean, that saved them in terms of having to rely on recruiting so much with offensive line this past class, and it let them move into this 2022 cycle where Louisiana gives you a bunch of offensive linemen, and that's something that doesn't often happen. And you mentioned we've talked about Will Campbell. Bo Bordelon, forget who his dad is. He had a good junior year.
He really did.
He's going to continue to progress. He's not a big overweight kid that plays O-line that you're going to, Tommy Moffitt's going to have to clean up when he gets here. He's going to continue to add just muscle and get more athletic. I think he's going to be a really good-looking tackle prospect. Emory Jones, I mean, we're here in Baton Rouge, so we see it. We were on the Jordy Culotta show when we got the text of his basketball huddle film going up. And boy, he's got some big baby kind of drop steps.
Scary, bro.
The spin moves, sweet feet. So he can play center. He can play guard. He's super talented. And then there's other kids in the state, kind of offensive linemen around. Cam East is a kid out in New Orleans that they'll evaluate and certainly be recruiting nationally. But if you can get those 3 guys, which they've already got 2 of them, if you can get Emory Jones, you've got a nice, starting 3 right there that you feel pretty good about. And suddenly O-line, isn't an issue this cycle.
How good is the wide receiver class of 2021? We haven't had a chance to talk to you since the Thomas commitment. Obviously, you were so busy with everything that was going on during that time. But you add him to the mix. You mentioned Besh. Malik Neighbors is in the class, who I think could be the sleeper of the entire group, the entire class. And obviously, you've got Chris Hilton, who's a dominant player, and then Deion Smith, who's the number one player in the state of Mississippi. I mean,
that's as good as a receiver class. It was the best receiver class in the country. Bama's was really good too, but adding Brian Thomas puts it over the top for LSU. It's the best in a while, and we talk about it here all the time. LSU is never at a shortage for receivers, and you can just get them all from Louisiana. So they did that minus Deion Smith, who, as you said, okay, if you got to leave Louisiana, we can go to Mississippi and get the number one overall player. Not number one receiver, the number one overall player. That doesn't happen in Mississippi. I mean, those kids go to State and Ole Miss, and so the fact that they got him was big. Early returns I've heard from people, I'll put it two ways. He's the only early enrollee right now in the group, so he's the only guy that they're going to be talking about. But then again, people on the outside, for instance, a friend of mine, Charles Power, who used to work at 24/7 and now does some private JUCO evaluation stuff, he went through over the past week and watched every receiver in the class, and he texted me and he's like, bro, Deion Smith is the real deal.
Wow.
And everyone at LSU has already said, look, we don't have balls in hands yet, but you can just tell this kid working out in the film room, whatever it is, he gets it. I think he's going to be someone who plays right away. He's a lanky kid. He's on the smaller side, but he'll beef up. It looks like about like a Devonta Smith, but he'll beef up a little bit and be out there. But you summed it up well. Like Besh is the lowest ranked guy of them all, but he's got the best stats. I mean, back-to-back years, he led Louisiana in receiving.
Like
and he's
national
stats.
stats.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
So that's where you kind of, if we're bookending it here, you've got Deion Smith, the highest ranked one, who's got some accolades now, and then you've got Jack Besh on the other end, who's got the most production, certainly seems like the type that'll come in and put his nose down and find a way to the field. Then you've got Chris Hilton. He's a multi-time, state high jump champ, 7 foot.
Has been since
and has been freshman year, 7 feet when he cleared that. Now this past weekend, he follows in his dad's footsteps.
What a great picture.
What a picture.
That was cool.
That was a great
If you haven't
picture.
seen that,
was a
share
great
that. 400-meter champs, both of them, but Chris won it. And that's a grown, indoor especially, that's a grown man's race. Like, you're sprinting 400 meters. On this, LSU's track is a bit different than others, especially indoor. So that's a real race. You're hitting that in 50 seconds. That's some grown man-ish right there.
Unbelievable time.
So now,
and his physical transformation over the last 2 years, he's
Joked
gone from
now.
a football player or a track athlete playing football to a football player running
and he played
track.
basketball for Zachary early on until he sort of focused on football and track. You got to lose the pads and get into the track gear to really let people know the work you've been doing.
That's right.
The pads can swallow you sometimes.
They can.
There ain't no
Devonta
hiding-
Smith. I mean, look at Devonta Smith's basketball highlights.
Definitely.
I mean, I showed him to little Jay last night. He's like, "That's not him." I was like, "That's him, bro." I was like, "He's jacked."
Yeah.
I was like, "I know." He's standing next to dudes that are yoked, man. I mean, he's,
it's like the UFC guys that are fighting it in 140 or whatever.
like that Oklahoma wide receiver this weekend.
Yeah.
JJ Pickett wants to know, ask Shea, does LSU offer Levon Moss or Marlon Gunn?
Moss has an offer. He's at
So who are these guys? Just explain to the audience.
Le'Veon Moss is here at Estruma. Estruma's got a football team again.
Yeah.
Throwback to the Billy Cannon days. I guess that would have been one of the LSU Estruma guys. But
Let's go.
that's right. Now they've got a
Former 5-star Billy Cannon.
So they have He was the only 5-star in that class. He's a really good player. They've offered him, but he's got Bama, everybody else. I think he's the number 6 running back in the country. And then Marlon Gunn's at Scotlandville, who they have not offered, but we've got to understand too. We've been in this dead period where they haven't been able to go see kids. They haven't been able to have camps. Right now, June 1st is what the NCAA has pushed it back to. They've been pushing it back nonstop, but if the dead period does end June 1st, guys like that will be able to get out to camps.
You hearing anything as far as recruiters go on the new guys, Durante Jones, Jake Peets?
No, because mainly they're just on the phone with kids right now. And you sort of really get a feel for guys when they're face-to-face or when they're around them. But they do seem to be vibing well. Even I've heard good things about Peets with just the room, the kids on the team now, and that's a jumping off point. If you can connect with those guys, you're making your way down from professionals to student athletes to high school kids from there.
What do you know about A.J. Johnson? Latest commit.
Right, a Newman kid.
Another wide receiver.
And they've got 2 kids out of Newman now, and Bo Bordelon and A.J. Johnson, both in that 2022 class. He had a solid year. Look, I think we'll know how good A.J. Johnson is when we see him this next year, because he played a little bit as a young pup at McMain, and then he transferred, then he had to sit out, then he played at Newman this past year, and it was a weird season and shortened. So I'm interested to see him on the camp circuit, because I haven't gotten to see him there. And then we'll see him as a senior. Solid player. He's a 3-star right now. I think he's a composite 4-star, but in that range. I think that if you're looking at LSU's class right now, Aaron Anderson out of Edna Carr is sort of that guy at receiver. A lot of people out of New Orleans, certainly out of Edna Carr, are super, super high on them. And Edna Carr knows talent. They've got guys that have rolled through there, so they say he's the real deal, and he's committed as well.
Ask Shea. Scott Stegman wants to know, how big of a loss is Jeff Martin in the recruiting department?
Oh, definitely big. I don't know how you quantify it, but as a guy who, I worked with Jeff at the Reveille.
He'll be on here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
There you go. So we've been, that was 2004. We were in college together here, and he's
in the background of that picture right there of Justin Vincent.
Yeah,
if you let that picture
he's like
run
the ball
out,
boy or
he's
something.
the ball boy behind that picture in the 03 national championship. Yeah, with JV letting them know.
And he's got, and I've seen the picture, and Jeff's in totally 2004 pants,
the khaki shorts
come down to way below the knee.
The shirt's a little too big.
The coach issued Nikes.
Yep, everyone was wearing a few sizes big back then. That was the move.
That's right.
But no, he's a guy who is LSU. He's from New Orleans. He plays a role behind the scenes. And the dead period has sucked, but when you've got kids on campus and families on campus and doing things all day, Orgeron and them aren't doing. They can't do all that. They're doing whatever. They're meeting with the team. They're having one-on-one meetings, and guys like Jeff are pretty integral in terms of kind of making those people feel at home, reaching out, connecting to them, and I know that even over the phone, guys like Corey Foreman said that they had connected with Jeff and Kelvin Shepard and Christian Locator and guys who weren't coaches, but were just sort of helping out behind the scenes. So. It's a tough one to replace, but that's the business. He's a good one. He gets a promotion, and he'll. It won't be the last that we hear of Jeff. He'll make his way back to the South and Baton Rouge, I bet, at some point.
What is the A.J. Johnson recruitment commitment? Does it do anything for Arch Manning? Where does LSU stand with Manning at this point in his process?
Well, I'd say no, but I don't want to discredit that A.J. and I was going to say Eli, Arch are friends and are close, and the family's certainly close with AJ. But we're talking about the Mannings, and we're talking about their, the next coming. This isn't one of the boys. This is the grandson, and I think their decision is going to be calculated well beyond where AJ Johnson or Bo Bordelon or anybody goes to school. So I think they're in an all right spot. But Cooper and Arch and Archie, they don't say much. Not much is coming out. And Nelson Stewart's not going to be out there just saying where he's going, who's in the lead or whatever. So you would guess Tennessee, Ole Miss, Duke, Virginia, which is where his mother went. LSU's in play. And that's just the teams that you would imagine he has connections to. He can really go wherever he wants.
What's the comparison? What's the comp between him and Eli Holstein? How much do you get asked? I know
none, because I don't think people realize yet that Eli Holstein's really good.
Yeah.
We've got an Arch and Eli battle going on here.
And Eli Holstein's a quarterback at Zachary, who was at St. Thomas More, that saw the writing on the wall that Walker Howard was going to be the starter for the next 2 seasons. So he transferred over to David Brewerton's program in Zachary and has 1 year of starting experience now under his belt as a freshman.
Yeah, STM was a bit backlogged there. They were pulled to Georgia, so they had everybody.
What those practices were like, dude.
USC in the 90s.
Put Will Ferrell on the sidelines.
A couple Holsteins and Howard. So, yeah, you described it well. He went over. He sat out a year at Zachary. I think he played I was going to call it JUCO, middle school ball or junior varsity, whatever it is.
Right. JV.
And then this past year played with Chris Hilton and those guys. And I think that they're pretty eager to see what he can do as a junior and senior, because now he's in that groove of being a young kid who's got some starts under his belt. He's really good. I don't think he'll catch Arch in the rankings, and I think Arch is a really solid player. I also think that he's got the name. He's already got that lofty ranking, but there'll be some Arch-Eli debates here in Louisiana. And for sure, look, everyone's wondering, where's Arch going to go to school? Can LSU have a shot at him? LSU should be worried about, and they are, about Eli. Where's Eli Holstein going to go? I think it'll be interesting to see, because I think he's really, really good.
They got to get one.
You would hope. Arch and Eli.
Have you heard anything on the Catholic High head football coaching spot? I'd imagine
that's your kind of. That's
your
I mean,
I've asked, but I'd imagine that there is a lot of. I just think that there would be a lot of people that would be interested in that job.
You'd have to think, right?
I mean, I've heard from people on LSU's campus. You would probably know this better than me.
You need text Dixon right now. He'll probably not give anything up. He's not going to give anything up.
But I've been told that Catholic High's underclass roster, so junior down to freshman, is the best roster in the state.
Maybe so. I'd believe it.
So I mean, if you're a football coach that could be on the, if you could be on the line of trying to make that jump, or you just want some stability, I mean that's got to be a spot that you're like, get me there.
Yeah, guys like Brewerton and all them, you'd think they say it's like they're already
like
in
Mahaffey,
spots, right?
Brewerton, Neil Weiner, they were all a part of that tradition, but they've now built their own program.
Yeah, they're Walker and Zachary.
They've all built their own stuff. I mean, if this were 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said maybe Mahaffey, maybe one of these guys that have been inside of that program before. But now, I mean, do you go like the Hudson Fuller at West Louisiana?
He just got a promotion out of Catholic. Yeah, there's a long line of Catholic guys you could obviously turn to. It'll be interesting to see. I guess I haven't thought about that. But cool hire about Louisville.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you make of that? I'm surprised we don't see that more.
I would think you would. You would want to see that. I think what they do.
And we're talking about Louisville hiring Gabe Fertitta, who is Catholic High's head football coach for the last 4 seasons, 3 state titles, and now he's been hired as the wide receivers coach. Because if you hire a high school coach, a head coach, you have to make them a position coach.
Correct.
You can't make him an analyst.
Correct.
If you make him an analyst, you're saying that I cannot recruit anybody that he's coached for the next 2 years.
So it's basically to avoid.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, like if LSU,
head coach
so if LSU hires
5-stars,
Gabe Fertitta, you say Emory Jones, go get me Emory Jones at Catholic High, and that would be illegal to NCAA standards. But you could say, hey, Gabe Fertitta, I'll make you the wide receivers coach, which you're giving him up a position coach, and that's some cash you got to pay. And to see him make the jump, I felt good for him too. I mean,
and I think too. Look, he understands high school kids and can help you with recruiting, and he's a good coach. What blows me away about him is just his attention to detail and what he's done in sort of what could be considered a pretty short time at Catholic as head coach, of his relationships with the media, his relationships with his players, the families, raising money at Catholic to get new facilities,
the combine,
running this combine that was, he had spreadsheets done and filling in everyone and able to get his kids seen to where new offers were rolling in. Shelton Sampson, their receiver, blew up that week. I think he's so head coach material to me in terms of just understanding
organization,
what it means to run a program, that it's more about, what happens on Friday nights is just such a small part of it, and I think he totally gets that.
I agree. I mean, when I saw that combine up close that weekend, I thought, wow, look at. I remember asking
Dixon. I think was in a suit out there.
He was. He was in the orange coat. You know what I mean? I asked. I said, Coach, who put this on? And he said, you looking at? I mean, we did this. I was like, wow, you're about to blow up. You're about to blow up, man. I mean,
you're about to get a Louisville call.
Hashtag Ask Shea. Who's the better quarterback from Texas, Sawyer Robertson or Garrett Nussmeier?
And I like Nussmeier. I like Nussmeier more than probably a lot of people do. I don't know how much he'll go in spring because he had that hand surgery or wrist surgery, right, which knocked him out of the playoffs his senior year. But he'll be a good player. Look, they haven't had actually this much talent in their quarterback room in a long time. Yeah. I mean, Brennan, as you said earlier, you'd pick him and say he's the guy, let's roll. But we've seen Max, we've seen TJ, now you've got Nuss, we've talked about Walker Howard. You're coming up on this Arch Eli stretch. I'm counting guys who aren't in the room yet, but they've set themselves up really well.
Reese Mooney have a shot down at Denham?
He's picked up some big offers recently. I think he's a big baseball player also, so I would watch that angle if he's trying to play both.
Shea Dixon joining us here. Go 247. Keep up with all your recruiting news. What's this part of the schedule like for you now that the second National Signing Day is behind you guys? And is it just into evaluating 2022 and beyond?
Yeah, we did all of our updated rankings this week, so that was a few weeks of film and just talking a lot with everybody. And now that's button. I'm not even overly involved there, just more on the reporting side and making sure everything's okay. Now we're moving in, I would say, just to focus on 2022. And they're off to a good start. 10 commits, number 2 class. We know Louisiana's going to be deep. That's just what's going to be fun about this cycle is they can do it all here. I mean, they can go get O-line, D-line, quarterback, receiver, whatever corner, whatever it might be here in Louisiana. They've already started it, but we'll have the most kids from Louisiana in a long time sign with LSU, and that becomes fun to watch.
Ask Shea, what about Ricky from Woodlawn or Zai from Scotlandville?
Yeah, a couple quarterbacks. Again, those would be guys you'd watch in camp. And since I don't think, for LSU at least, that they're even going to add another quarterback. Because I think that they want Walker to know that he's that guy to them.
Yeah, I'm with you. Whitney Bro says she's typing in, and of course Whitney's going to launch her new show here, the Gridiron Show on March 8th, International Women's Day. We were fired up about that.
I was chewing gum right before I walked in. I was like, oh, Whitney yesterday. I was like, man, I'm not going to chew gum anymore on the set. I was like, I guess I'll get my gum out before I come on.
You talking about lips? You talking about Oliva?
Yeah, I'm talking about, when she made the comment about it.
That's right.
Like, let me throw my gum out.
But she asked about Shelton Sampson. And he can go anywhere he wants. Huh?
His dad, remember, played
at Redemptress.
Yeah, at Redemptress, and then
Northwestern.
Northwestern. I was going to say Southern, Northwestern, and now he's turned into just. Hey, that was that combine day I told you about. You know, we were talking about Fertitta. He goes, sets up this combine, and this kid comes out and lays down a couple 4.5s, 4.4 something on a handheld, and blew up. I think he had like Mickey Joseph and everyone was like calling over right then, offering him. But yeah, he'll go wherever he wants, and he had a good year this year, so it'll be interesting to see. And apparently, it sounds like he's a banner piece to what's a pretty good young Catholic team.
One more from Whitney wants to know how 247 evaluates talent during the pandemic. Do you get film from high school coaches?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So often, some of the biggest things that they use for evaluating are you play other sports. A lot of people didn't play basketball or whatever, and the biggest being track. I mean, whether you're a big guy throwing the discus or, shot put, or you're running events or you're jumping, whatever it might be, it's such a clear indicator of athleticism and how that translates into football is usually, if it's well documented that kids who play multiple sports and certainly excel at them, and namely track, end up being really good prospects. So that's one way to eval that we didn't have a bunch of. Like right now, like we're just now seeing them run state in indoor, which, it's good for these evals this next crop, but we're just seeing Chris Hilton and them compete for the first time in more than a year, and those rankings are all done. Then we had to go through a lot of states that didn't play football at all, and I think for that reason, the rankings for this past class, a lot of them sort of just didn't see a lot of major shuffling or stayed put with kind of almost like how the gut feel of the rankings team felt, because we had some kids that we could put under a microscope and they didn't play great here or there. But we have some other kids that we're matching them up against who we haven't seen play in 2 years. How would we know anything updated with no summer camps, which is a huge eval piece, no 7-on-7? So all of that's starting to come back now, like 7-on-7 plays back. We might have summer camps. But yeah, almost solely relying on high school film, which is the same thing for college coaches. Remember, they don't have access to any testing numbers on these kids. You can get a high school coach to say, hey, coach, measure him and send it over to me. I mean, they were at points having to get high school coaches to video it because they didn't want them just saying, he's 6'2", no doubt.
The Culotta kid's 6'4", he can run like a deer.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you got to offer him.
Don't watch him, just offer.
Is this the Culotta kid you were talking about? The 5'6"?
Yeah, right. He looks bigger on film.
Yeah, he can't jump over the piece of paper you got on the floor.
So on film, I would say most colleges had to rely on film, which I think will make, and evaluators, but I think that'll make this 2021 class fascinating long term, because how good were these coaches at signing a class when you never got to meet the kid, eyeball him, sit down with his family. Right. All you knew was what people were telling you, what you saw on film.
Right. I hate that for guys like Shaz Preston, man. I mean, like, who's a big time player in this cycle that just can't experience the true. I mean, that's just something you're like.
I'm fine with it. Keep him home. I'm fine with it.
I mean, just the experience of life.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's sometimes this is the first time these kids get on an airplane.
No doubt.
You know, I mean, it's
just being able to go see things.
Yeah,
it's such a cool experience, and part of if you're that talented, or if you've worked yourself into a position where you can have those experiences, they're memories for a lifetime. I mean, you hear all kind of guys, T-Bob, whoever would tell you that, oh man, on my recruiting trip to Georgia, we were out doing this, and these kids don't have any of that right now, and then not having these camps, the opening where they get to go meet all these other kids that they read about and they see their film and they get to, live in a hotel with them for a week, all these experiences. And Look, I know that's the same for everything, but I feel for obviously the youth, and in my industry, that's those kids, and then it's the kids who were just freshmen on a football team where, man, this ain't what I signed up for. You know, half the team's opting out on me. We ain't got no fans. I have to sit in my room every day. So I feel for all of them whose high school and college experience is a bit different.
There is a great write-up on Bo Bordelon and his work ethic by Sonny Ship over at Go 247. There's also a breakdown in LSU's class, position by position, that you can read right now. You got to be a member over at Go 247. If you're not, you really don't care about recruiting. And if you do, you got to get over to Shea's site. They got the best relationships and the best information. And each week, you will be able to keep up with him right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We're always promoting his information. It's good to see you. Thank you as always.
Wore the gear.
I see that, bro. You look great. Somebody wanted to know if you were robbing a train because of the bandit.
I didn't know how undisclosed location we were going today, so it was more of the
cover up.
The cover up.
What about the man yesterday in the chair?
I had to go rewatch it after you had told me that there were some good tidbits in there. Yeah. JFK was a high point. Dude, I thought
so wild.
One shooter. Confirmed one shooter.
You think Lloyd stayed up last night till like 4 watching just
100%
deep into checking it out.
Oliver Stone, my guy.
Right. Lloyd's like, Shea, gotta get out of here. Richard's coming on for round 2.
Yeah. I watched a lot of Alex Jones podcasts last night.
Yeah,
real deep into it.
Right.
I believe it. Yeah, I shamelessly wore the 24/7 stuff last appearance, so I'll rotate it now.
It's all good, man.
I'm in the
It's all
show
good.
stuff now.
We appreciate the promotion. Get over to Go 247. If you checked out, if you missed yesterday's show, if you missed today's show, remember the podcast is always brought back to you by RMB Builders. Check out Rhett Bourgeois and his crew. They are online at rmb-builders.com. 921-7062 is where you can call him today. For Nikki, for Mike, for Lloyd and Katie. Shea Dixon over at Go 247. You got anything before we get out of here?
No. I was actually Nick hadn't said anything, but I spoke to his class this week.
Yeah, it was great.
Really? Nice.
I didn't know if he was going to admit to y'all he's enrolled in school or not, or unless he's staying quiet over there.
Virtually or
No, I was in.
No, he was there.
There were virtual people. But
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll be there Thursday.
Really?
I'll be there a week from today. I think Whitney Bros with y'all
She's
this morning.
today. Yeah, Whitney's today.
All right.
We got the whole gang coming through.
Love
man.
it.
They haven't asked me yet, and I understand why.
we might bring Lloyd along. and if it doesn't work out for you, you can always produce the show.
Take a seat and learn something, kid. Yeah.
That's right. All right, Go Chevrolet brings you our product every day. Make sure and support our sponsors. We appreciate you being out there. Like, share, comment on the post. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.